there, thanks so much for tuning in to today's Drawing for Kids video brought to you by the Ann Arbor District Library and the Ann Arbor Art Center. Today you are going to need a pencil and a sheet of paper, and we're going to learn how to draw pretty much anything by using basic shapes to do so. Alright, so I'm going to take several different random objects here. I'm going to start with something more complex at the top and end with something easier at the bottom. So what I'm doing is writing this out and making a chart. You don't have to necessarily do that if you don't want to, but I have made a little chart here, and then I have used a photograph of each of these objects in this first column, and then what I'm doing is in the second column, this is what I want you to do. So you could do this with my objects that I've chosen, or you can pick your own random objects that are photographs of objects or random objects in your house. And the idea here is to look at your objects and try to identify basic shapes. So this is not a complex shape such as a cloud shape, but instead something like a triangle or a rhombus or a trapezoid, maybe a circle. So you can see how now with each of my objects I've gone through, I have looked at my object and I have identified the objects that are the shapes that I see. Then I have drawn those shapes, even if it makes my drawing look a little bit funny there in that second column. Okay, so that is going to be our first step, is I want you to look at an object. It can be the same ones I've chosen, or it can be different. And I want you to try to identify the basic shapes. It's even helpful to say them out loud. Say, I see an oval there. And then only using those basic shapes, draw the object. Okay, now it might look a little funny, but that's okay. Okay, it's part of the process here of being able to see how we can break down any object using basic shapes to then better understand how to go about drawing them. As we move along into that third column, this is where I'm going to take that second column, that drawing, I'm going to draw it again, and this time I'm going to use my eraser to erase any of those places that don't belong, or I'm going to use my pencil to draw in more detail than what I was able to get by only using the basic shapes. So with this spool of thread, for example, obviously in that second column I didn't even include that little string. I didn't include any of the texture or shading or anything like that. And here in this third column I do want to go ahead and I want to add a little bit more detail, so you can see how I'm putting that in there. Same with the screw. Now, are they perfect? No, not necessarily, but you can still see how I'm implementing that technique of using those basic shapes, and I'm drawing really lightly with my pencil to do so. So in my teddy bear, you can see now I'm pressing down a little bit harder as I work back into and make it a little bit more of a complex drawing. So I'm going back in and adding more shading and just a little bit more detail than what I really paid attention to when I was only doing the basic shapes in the second column. So I hope that you challenge yourself with some more challenging objects, as well as include some more basic, easier objects that aren't super complex, so that you feel like you have a good understanding of how to use really be able to draw anything just using basic shapes alone.